Hello everyone, welcome again. This is another review commentary thing. I'm actually recording this pretty shortly after the baseball video. The reason I'm doing another one of these kind of back to back is I had some noise gate issues in that video. So trying to see if I resolve those with this one, and then see if we can move on to doing some more longer form things that I'm thinking about. I'm not sure when this will go up. It might be a little bit till I actually post it, but I figured as I test this again, it might be a good time to make a little extra Patreon content if you were interested in this thing before. If you gave feedback before, this is before I have received that. So if you're like, I gave you feedback and you didn't listen, that's why. So anyways, again, thank you again for being on the Patreon. I really appreciate it. So today we're going to do a similar thing to with the baseball video, where we essentially are just going to give a little look at it and talk a little bit about, not only the review process to some degree. I mean, admittedly, this is so old that a lot of it's going to be little things that cue off oh yeah, this happened kind of thing. It's not like I have in my mind a good memory of what the whole creation process of this review was. And maybe we'll look at some other things if it makes sense. I probably should, when I do these, check to see if I have any original scripts anywhere first and foremost. But I do have the hard drive over there, so I might check that at some point here. But let's just start with just listening to the video first and seeing where it goes. So as I said earlier, there might still be some noise gate issues with this video. So we're going to try again, see what happens. And yeah, hopefully it works out. And then if I do more of these after that, assuming I've kind of solved all my problems or determined that I need to get a headset over here, then we can either do more of these if you're interested. Otherwise, we'll probably move on to other things. So anyways, Wario Woods. So Wario Woods on the NES is a game that is, I don't know how to put it. Not sure how to put it. So I heard about Wario Woods a little bit before I played it. But I kind of had no idea what it was really beyond it was a puzzle game, and I believe people did not like it. However, I believe it is the Super Nintendo version in particular that people did not like. And this might be one of those earlier videos where I start to kind of feel out, my difference of opinion and other people's, and so I'm not really good at communicating that. I may not even address it in this video. I might just be like, hey, cool, Wario Woods, really cool. But this is one of those games that has kind of a unique quirk and unique gimmick to it that doesn't really make a lot of sense, honestly. Well, it makes some sense, but from a traditional puzzle game perspective, it has a gimmick that doesn't really has not really been proven, I would say, in some ways. Maybe Mr. Driller is an example. So if you don't know, Wario Woods, game where you exist as a character in the actual board and you run around and move stuff to create a row or something like that, essentially that kind of thing. And Mr. Driller, I think, does a pretty good job of that, now that I think about it. But Lup Salad is another game that tries to do this, although it's a side mode kind of thing. So anyways, so it's one of those reviews that I think was me having a particular aspect of a game catch my eye. Let's actually see if I can see what year this was here when I uploaded this. I'm gonna guess this is also gonna be 2010. Yeah, October 2010. Let me see, how far off was that from baseball? So baseball was September. So this is actually a pretty quick turnaround time. Admittedly, if this is anything like the baseball video, there may not be that much work actually put into this, but it is a little longer, almost 7 minutes. So we'll see how much just music there is in this case, for that. So yeah, let's get started and see what happens here.
Generally, when people think of Nintendo and Tetris clones, they think of Dr. Mario, which has pretty much appeared on every...
I have a friend that even today still gives me trouble about that. Generally, when people think of Nintendo, they think of Dr. Mario, or Tetris and Nintendo. It's Dr. Mario they think of. Also, I feel the microphone quality is worse in this video, but even today I have trouble with keeping audio consistent. So I would not be surprised. I had the exact same problem back then. Might have just literally been a positioning thing or how I recorded the audio or what.
Platform Nintendo has created. And while Nintendo has a variety of other Tetris-style games, they don't really get much attention. One in specific is Wario Woods.
I'm trying to think of other Nintendo-style Tetris game. I guess there's Yoshi Cookie. Not Lumines. What is it called? There's a DS game. What is that DS game called? It's one where you like line up a bunch of blocks on the bottom, and it's a Sora game. Or Sora was the developer for it. Medios. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Medios is what it was. I picked that game up on the DS because I was desperate for like any kind of good DS game early on, and very rarely does a puzzle game click with me. Wario Woods being one of the few exceptions. Amazing soundtrack to this game, by the way. There we go.
The title was published in 1994, was released on the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo. The version we're looking at here is the NES version.
Fun fact, I have not had a Super Nintendo pretty much since like my late teens. I gave my Super Nintendo away to my sister. I won't get into the story of that, but I gave it to her, and I have not had a reliable way to play Super Nintendo games since. So I have not like played Super Nintendo games that much. I got the SNES Mini actually, but yeah. So and then I mean I have an NES. I do not have Wario Woods on NES. This is yet again like baseball, the Animal Crossing version of Wario Woods. So.
Wario Woods, like many other Tetris-style games, has players lining up certain colors to try to remove them from the screen before they fill up the screen, resulting in a game over. It's pretty standard stuff, but there are a handful of differences in Wario Woods. Probably the one you already noticed is that players just can't line up colored creatures. Instead, they have to use a bomb of the same color of the creatures to rid them of the field. Even that is pretty standard, but the big difference is between Wario Woods and other titles is that instead of just being a floating cursor, you are actually in the playing field. At first, it seems a little awkward as the controls are a bit clunky and are sometimes hard to use in such a small space, but it makes for a unique experience. Not only do players have to line up the colors correctly to remove them from the screen, but they also have to be aware of their surroundings. If a player is trying to get from one side of the playing box to another, they'll have to
It was a legit review. We got a lot of talking happening.
watch out for falling creatures and bombs. While it won't hurt the player, it will knock them down if they're trying to climb up a specifically high part of the field. Players have a variety of ways to move these colored animals and bombs. Players can just pick them up, or they can kick them to slide across the map, although I didn't find the kick very useful, hence why you're not seeing very much in the gameplay here. Once you do pick up bombs though, you have a variety of options as well.
Let's stop myself. This is a lot more talking than I was expecting. I was like waiting for me to have the big long gap like I did in baseball. I'm curious if I recognized that, or if it just happened to be that I did not have a lot to say about baseball, but I have much more to say about Wario Woods. Like I think the one thing I will say, like if I were to like give myself some advice without like, you know, overly burdening, you know, with like completely rework the video kind of thing. And this is something I still struggle with today that I'm still trying to do at times, is just like really surface the unique element to the top of the video. And sometimes it's hard, especially when you're like trying to tell a story or something like that. And you're like, here's a story. Like I did the Nintendoji video fairly recently by the time I'm recording this. And like, I don't know if I really surfaced the importance, like what Nintendoji does well towards the beginning of that video. I think there's a lot of backstory that needed to happen about Nintendoji. Not only about, you know, what it was, what makes it special and what it was, and also what type of game it is. Because I think a lot of people did not know what type of game Nintendoji was. And it can be hard to like surface that really early on. I think in the case of something like Wario Woods, you know, I open up with the fact that like, hey, Tetris, like Dr. Mario's kind of Nintendo's Tetris thing, But Wario Woods is another one of those, and here's what's kind of unique about it, and really go hard into the fact that like Toad is there, rather than A, just listening to a bunch of gameplay, and then B, kind of telling the player almost already what they know, like about the like clearing the screens. Like sometimes it does feel important to like spell things out, especially if you don't want to like assume somebody knows something about something. And I try to generally keep my videos as accessible as possible. But you don't want to say RPG and have to explain that every single time, right? Like role-playing game, Japanese role-playing game, and then give like a giant dump about like what a Japanese role-playing game is. We have to assume that people who are watching know what that is, and it's something I struggle with the PCFX videos, where like I want to make assumptions about what people know about the PCFX, but I also know that like it's not a very commonly known console, so yeah, it can be hard to do. But like I don't think I took that long. We are like two minutes or almost 3 minutes into the review, like so before even halfway, we have largely hit the main point of like, hey, you're a character in the field. I think the one thing I would have liked better is if I led earlier with how that affects how you play the game. And I if I recall correctly, it's been a very long time since I've watched this. I think I do get to there about like, hey, the way you move is different in then a game where you just have a cursor and you really have to think about that.
You can line up the colors while you're still holding the bombs. You can throw them to the panel beside you, and you can also drop them right below yourself. So while the movement controls are a bit clunky, they work well for placing items exactly where you need them to be. But that doesn't make Wario Woods easy. It is actually pretty far from easy, as the game starts to ramp up in difficulty on each board after a certain amount of time. Once enough time has passed, Wario will come to the field and more creatures and bombs will start dropping at an increased rate. Early on, not that big of a problem. Sometimes you can even clear the field before Wario even gets there. Later though, you will encounter Wario multiple times on a single board.
I think that was like a solid maybe. If I didn't cut the beginning of the title screen, I think I may have done that. That was probably like one solid piece of footage for most of the review. Which, if you know today, I maybe over edit my reviews. I've had feedback sometimes about like there's a lot going on in my video, and I cut very often, and I frequently am cutting to make sure I'm talking about, like, I'm showing what I'm talking about in the game. In the case of something like Wario Woods, like as you can tell, like what we're looking at here, this is the whole game basically. This is what it all looks like. So sometimes games are easy like that. But I think at this point, I'm at the point now where like I feel like I have to cut at like a certain point, like 20-30 seconds. I start getting antsy and like I gotta cut and switch something else. Even if it's the exact same thing, I gotta cut. so it is kind of nice to just see myself be like, it's okay. It's just like a big chunk of footage. Maybe something I can learn from today in that regard, honestly. So it looks like we're going back to some music here. For that, but I think the only other thing I'd say though about like what I said there was like the game being hard or something. I think today I would not have the confidence to say that definitively, because I know puzzle game fans are on like a completely different level than me. Like puzzle games, rhythm games, fighting games, those are genres that I don't have a lot of self-confidence in, and so when I do a review now, I almost always will put the caveat of like, I had a hard time with this, but I am not really at that skill level to say how hard this is. So if you're a Puyo Puyo fan or something, what is the difficulty level here with this? So yeah, it's something that I would probably question these days, or reword rather than just saying it's hard up front and then leaving it at that. Back to some music, man. Again, amazing OST for this game. The music that is great, and unfortunately you don't hear a lot of it in this video, I don't think. Maybe I put it at the end, because I mean, even at the time, I loved the song. There are little interstitials between rounds where you collect coins, but B, you walk from one tree to the next, and you saw it maybe a couple times so far. And if you collect the coins and go to the next tree, the song's very short, but you actually can like hang around and listen to the whole song. And holy crap, it's a good song. It like for as short of a time you listen to it, it has this huge long beat and then this like wonderful ending to the song. I love it so much. Wario Woods, very small, but like probably one of my favorite NES soundtracks. By small, I mean like quantity of like songs. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what that thing on the left side of the screen means. There's like up down arrow with the little bunny guys, and then like a question mark with the other white guys. I'm almost certain I A, didn't think about that at the time, and B, do not mention it in this video. Also, what is gold for in this game? It must be just score or something, because I don't see a score otherwise. Round 41.
The choice.
There is a lot, like looking at that round counter, actually, there are a lot of slots on that round counter. I wonder how many rounds you can go. I wonder if it's like, I mean, like there looks like enough slots for there to be 9,999 rounds. I am curious if there's a limit. I might look that up after this.
The choice of characters for Wario Woods seems kind of strange. While all the characters, aside from some bosses and the random fairy, are from the Mushroom Kingdom, they're not exactly the characters you would choose for a big Mario title. The main character is Toad, which is odd enough as it is. Sure, there's Super Mario Bros. 2, or USA if you want to call it, which has Toad as a playable character, but in this title, Toad is the only playable character. Birdo also shows up, which is kind of strange since there's really no need for him. Her, whatever he is. All he does is sit in the corner and hang out on your screen until Wario arrives. While Wario...
So, I mentioned, I forgot what I said. One second, let me pull up. I mentioned something I wanted to touch on. Let me scroll it back a little bit.
Characters, aside from some bosses...
So the type of characters in this game... I like that. I like that about this game. Like, it's, I would personally prefer, you know, there being more games with, like, weird Mario characters in it. I mean, I know we're not really at that point anymore in, like, gaming and stuff, but... I feel like maybe it's not good for me to say this, but like I kind of wish there were still smaller titles from Nintendo. I feel like we just do not see that nearly as much anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not as tuned in like to the Nintendo space anymore, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I would like to see more like really weird random spin-off with random characters and stuff. That's cool. I like that. That's really nicely, and all these characters, like, yeah, they're weird characters to choose from, but they're like recognizable to some degree to like the right people. I think, you know, I say that, but you know, it's a very small audience. People probably care. Also, I like that I mentioned Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Bros. USA, but not the Doki Doki Panic thing. So I wonder if I like, or Doki Doki Panic. I wonder if like even at this point it was like the Doki Doki Panic thing was so overblown, I just like didn't feel the need to mention it. And I'm curious, like, why I specifically said whatever you want to call it, Super Mario USA. Like, I wonder if I was, like, in a conversation with somebody at some point and was, like, they were like, no, it's Super Mario USA or something like that. I don't know. I'm curious, but yeah.
Birdo also shows up, which is kind of strange since there's really no need for him. Her, whatever he is. All he does is sit in the corner and hang out on your screen until Wario arrives. While Wario is probably the most popular out of all the characters in the game, there's still something strange about him. He's purple. I guess it's an NES limitations, because the box art actually shows him as yellow, which is his correct color. Also, the question has to be asked, why woodland creatures? PETA would be disappointed.
PETA, I think is what I said. PETA will be disappointed. It's, it is like one of those things that like at this time in 2010, I think somebody would in like the YouTube space would be like, "Why is Wario purple?" kind of thing. And it seems like I tried to do something like that here, but like I just did not have the enthusiasm for it. I wonder like if I specifically felt the need to do something like that, or if I don't know. It's kind of like these days I think it's something that you can see Wario's purple and like it maybe it's funny for like a little like maybe slightly mention it, but like I would not like spend as much time as I spent talking about the color of Wario and the fact that he's on the different color on the box. I think I cut a lot out of my reviews these days, so that would probably like end up in a draft. But I think it would probably get cut because I usually have to ask myself by the end like what is important here, because I don't want a video to go over like 8 to 12 minutes. Like that is my range. That's what I like. And if I sit there and have a bunch of useless extra information in there, like the Nintendoji video where I was like, Grounding is the developer who worked on Sakura Samurai, and then I had to sit there and think like, why is this important to this video? It's a cool little bit of trivia for sure, but why? This makes me want to play more Wario Woods.
Wario Woods, while not very popular, is actually available on a handful of platforms. You have the NES version, which can also be found in the GameCube version of Animal Crossing and on the Virtual Console. Then you also have the Super Nintendo version, which remains an exclusive to its original platform, and with the ability to get the game for free on Android.
You know, I don't know if they released that Wario Woods release on any other platform for Super Nintendo. I don't know if it ever hit Virtual Console. I'm pretty sure it's not on the SNES Mini. Maybe it's on like a Switch. Switch is like Super Nintendo like subscription thing. I wonder. I cannot remember the last time I saw that game though. Still, I think they still put out Wario Woods on the NES though. But although I believe that it is considered to be the superior version of the game, I could be wrong. But I don't know why it would be. To be honest with you, rockin' soundtrack.
Animal Crossing and its affordable price on other platforms, you should take a look.
Also, this was a Speed Gamers review. I forgot about that, which is interesting because this is uploaded to my channel. The Speed Gamers YouTube, like the YouTube that we had, probably did not exist at this point. Is probably what it is. If you don't know, I wrote for a charity group called the Speed Gamers, who kind of inspired 8 Awesome Games Done Quick. It's kind of weird to think about that, like, technically I was a part of that group. I like my presence there had no real bearing on anything. I was doing the blog and stuff, but I was doing like game news stuff on the blog. So, you know, it was a very minimal like thing. Like the trajectory of that website would have been exactly the same with or without me. I can't remember if I had this on one of the on the baseball review, but yeah, if you didn't know, I did like little MS Paint like title card or like end cards for the videos. Woods everywhere. I don't know what that is in reference to. I did like my little quote down here of it's like I'm really reading and watching video game reviews like from me. It was just like a stupid thing to throw on there. Also, if you didn't know, and I think you can see this in higher quality on Oculian's box, so oculin.wordpress.com. All these GameCube boxes and Wii boxes are based off actual games. So if you want to, you know, figure out what games they are, go at it. I believe that's like either Super Mario Sunshine or Animal Crossing at the bottom there. I'm moving my mouse around, but I actually have mouse capture off, so you can't actually see what I'm doing. That's the end. Baseball!
Nope.
Anyways, so yeah, that was Wario Woods. I feel like that was a review. It was not like baseball where I was just like sitting there like wrote like a couple of sentences. Like that feels like a full review. So I generally like audio quality aside, I feel like that's actually like solid. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised and impressed overall. I definitely have been like tucked in a few different places, but yeah, let me actually plug my drive in here and just see if there's anything of interest in relation to this review. I don't think a lot of these earlier reviews. I just unfortunately don't think I kept a lot from them. Yeah, unfortunately, I just see the actual file itself. Let me check one other place here. No, I don't. So unfortunately, that's one of the cases where either I did not write anything and just did it off the cuff, or I do have something called a "What You Talking About" thing, but there's nothing in here. Let me see if there was. So if you don't know, there's a series of articles on my website. There were a series of articles on the no, sorry, I got a weird pop up here. Where are you? There's a series of articles on my website called "What You Talking About." Is this it? Okay, yeah, okay. So it looks like that this was a "What You Talking About," but I did it as a video. So I don't know if I wrote anything out, unfortunately, for this one. The final "What You Talking About" video for the first season. Apparently, I planned a season. I have high doubts that I was planning a season. I put the series on hold or I put the series. Oh, I guess I'm saying this is the last one. Put the series on hold with a bang. A video. Wario Woods is a Tetris-like puzzle game released on the NES and SNES. The cool thing about the title is not. This title is not. Wait, the cool thing about this title is not, comma, you are not a random cursor in the game. You're actually in the playing field. I need my glasses, but I think I typoed something there. The cool thing about this title is not. I don't know what that means. Guessing just a typo. But anyways, that was Wario Woods. View from October 20th, 2010. 5 likes. Hot. And yeah, seen you from TSG. Thank you, Ace Mage 334 from 11 years ago. Who liked that? I'll like it now. Thanks, Ace Mage. I appreciate it. Anyways, that's it for that. I'm going to go back and listen to this and see if the audio sounds fine. And then if it is fine, then hopefully I can move on to do what I actually want to do in this setup. But for now, yeah, that's it. And then if I have to test again, maybe I'll do this again if it's easy enough to do. Again, if you do want something like if you are curious about hearing more of these, let me know, because there's a good chance that if I don't hear anything about them, I will stop doing them, just because, not because I don't think they're interesting to do, but because I mainly was doing these just to test some stuff out. We'll hard it too. Mainly just doing it to test some stuff out. So I didn't want to necessarily clog the Patreon with videos like this. That doesn't mean we won't revisit these in the future, but for now, that was the goal of doing these videos in particular. So, anyways, again, thank you again for coming. Thank you again for subscribing to the Patreon, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.